Hello, hello, and welcome to Technology Today, powered by ohmtown.com. Today is May 19th, 2024. It's Season 1, Episode 13. Today we're going to be talking about Catllaboration Demonstration, high temp 3D prints, school bus EV powerhouses, cell stiffness and viscosity, precision locations of wireless devices, bye-bye flying lab, lead detection innovation, jet propelled jelly, toxic gas sensor, and a soft robot spider's leg. I am Mayor Watt, and all around is the sentient AI from the future.
Good evening, hometown citizens.
And all of this is powered by ohmTown Daily. Well, no, sorry, ohmtown.com, which is a daily show. ohmTown Daily News Show powers that too. Anyway, just go over to ohmtown.com. Bye. I cannot seem to go a show without destroying our production value. But let's get into the show. Welcome, AI.
Welcome, Mayor Watt.
You ready to keep going?
I am.
This is episode... Well, this is the third show for today. So I might be getting a little punch drunk. And we still have another show after this, Four Wheel Tech, where we talk about car technology. Automotive technology, I should say. Not just cars. It's like pretty much anything.
But this is episode 13.
This is episode 13. Did I not say it? I thought I said it.
You didn't. You started to and then
it's
sidetracked.
It's May 19th, 2024, Season 1, Episode 13. Good God. All right, let's get into it. The first article is over in Technology Today. Catllaboration demonstrates what it takes to trust robots. Would you trust a robot to look after your cat? New research suggests it takes more than a carefully designed robot to care for your cat. The environment in which they operate is also vital, as well as
I'm not
human
sure I would trust cats with the robot. Like, it's not that is the robot trustworthy. It's like, are the cats trustworthy?
No, cats are never trustworthy. They will eat you if you fall asleep too long. The bot in ohmTown, twitch.tv/ohmTown, now has an AI attached to it, and it does all of the posts of the URLs all at once, and then it just starts being snarky and makes comments because it's doing work. So never mind all of the snarky comments that the bot starts throwing out after the URLs, but at the very top of the list of its initial communications is all of the URLs. And I'm gonna have to work on how this thing actually communicates. I don't know what's going on. It's not a sentient AI from the future like my co-host. Let's get going. That article that I mentioned, Catllaboration demonstrates what it takes to trust a robot. University of Nottingham put this article together. It's over at techexplore.com. And I don't know, I would love to have a cat space like this. I'm gonna zoom in. This is
that would be really cool. It's like a whole play area or something.
It's a lounge for humans, but then it has all these other perches and places for a cat. A selection of iterations showing the enclosure design from initial inspiration by the art of Werner Panton to 3D renders and scale models to the final full-sized installation.
Look at that top picture in the middle. It has like all these kind of, I don't know if it's an actual bridge or something, but it has like all these kind of foothold areas.
This one here or over here?
The one in the middle.
Oh, the one in the middle right here? Or down in the bottom? Yeah, so this looks like bridges. And That's really cool. I could probably make these little interconnects, because these are just like little, probably just plastic loop. Although, I mean, I would probably want to do this out of wood, like plywood. So
right, you want it to be sturdier, but yeah.
Yeah. Or print it with something that's much sturdier than PLA. But yeah, this is like a little walk bridge kind of a thing. But then you have platforms. You have to have platforms. But then they have all of these. This is a scale model version of it, not the full size. And then it ends up being this full size thing. But this looks like a render, I guess. Because this person has really weird legs. If that's a human, a real human, and not a computer generated thing, I
think it's computer generated.
All right.
Well, I think that's the artwork.
Yeah.
That's what it started with. Yeah.
Yeah. So Cat Royale is a unique collaboration between computer scientists from the University of Nottingham and artists at Blast Theory, who worked together to create a multi-species world centered around a bespoke enclosure in which 3 cats and a robot arm coexist for 6 hours a day during a 12-day installation as part of an artist-led project. The installation was launched in 2023 at the World Science Festival in Brisbane, Australia, and has been touring since. It has just won a Webby Award for its creative experience. It's a research paper designing multi-species worlds for robots, cats, and humans, has just been presented at the annual Computer Human Conference, or G24, which we've talked about in the past, where it won Best Paper. It outlines how designing the technology and its interactions, is not sufficient, but that it is equally important to consider the design of the world in which the technology operates. So I guess, but I don't know. It says demonstrates what it takes to trust robots. Cat Collaboration demonstrates what it takes to trust robots. Other than cleaning the cat box, I would probably trust a robot to feed the cat.
Oh, yeah. I mean, because that's the same as like having an automated dispenser or something, right? There's not even a robot.
Right. And as long as you have a water supply that's gravity fed so that it's always being given as much water as it wants, I have no problem with a robot doing that. You don't have to have a robot giving it fresh water. You put a 5-gallon drum out there and it can probably last, 2 days without, 2 days with that water. Depending on your cat. Like some cats drink a lot, other cats don't. Other cats think that it's the end of the world, and so they are constantly drinking and peeing.
Yeah, that's true. Never know. Or they are trying to knock everything over.
Yeah, that's another thing. Yeah. So you just got to toddler proof it. But other than that, I would trust a robot to feed and water. As long as it cleans the cat box like spectacularly well, because cats, once they don't trust their cat box anymore, they'll go wherever they damn well please.
Yeah, so it's not an area that you can just treat haphazardly.
Right. Give me it. All right. Let's keep going. The next article is over in the Technology Today channel. NASA licenses 3D printable high temperature super alloy that can last 2,500 times longer. I'm not sure 2,500 times longer than what and last longer than what. All right. NASA's super alloy GRX 810, designed for extreme air and flight conditions. Air and space flight conditions, is now being licensed to 4 American companies, enhancing the U.S. economy through improved aerospace. But engineering?
I mean, this could be 2,500 times longer than not at all, right? If this wasn't around.
Then not at all. Is this one of those?
Like, this seems like a math problem that doesn't work.
Yeah, divide by 0. 38% of all accidents are caused by excessive speed, kind of a thing.
Yes, exactly.
So the agency is licensing its invention, dubbed GRX 810, to 4 companies. GRX 810 is a 3D printable high-temperature material that will lead to stronger, more durable airplane and spacecraft parts, Boeing, that can withstand more punishment before reaching their breaking point, Boeing.
I don't think there were Boeing references in the article.
Oh, my bad. So the co-exclusive license agreements will allow these companies to produce and market GRX 810 to airplane and rocket equipment manufacturers, Boeing, as well as the entire supply chain. The 4 co-exclusive licensees are not Boeing. Carpenter Technology Corporation of Reading, Pennsylvania, or Reading.
Reading.
Elementum 3D Incorporated of Erie, Colorado. Is that Erie?
Yeah, well, it depends.
Lind.
Is it Jamaica?
No, it's Colorado. Oh, it's Erie, Colorado. Okay. And Lind Advanced Materials Technology Incorporated of Indianapolis. Indianapolis? Is that how it's pronounced?
Are you using phonetics?
And, well, it's much like the graduation ceremony at the university. Powder Alloy Corporation of Loveland, Ohio. Sorry. This is supposed to be a serious show, Watt. Get your shit together. Anyway, GRX 810 is an example of many new technologies NASA's Technology Transfer Program managers review and file for patent protection. The team also works with inventors to find partners interested in commercialization. So, NASA invests tax dollars into research that demonstrates direct benefit to the U.S. and transfers its technologies to industry by licensing its patents. Said Amy Hilta-Bedell. Okay. Anyway, licensing manager at NASA's Glenn Research Center in Cleveland. So that's this. This is what's possible with 3D printing of metals. And there's different kinds of doing it, but it's usually welded down. Like the powder is laid down and then high temperature welding forms it into this, and then you mill it into its final position. Because all of this would actually be a little too rough, unless that's what they're asking for, and it doesn't need to be perfectly smooth. But if this is like a gas, this turbine engine combustor was 3D printed. Wow. It may not require it to be perfectly smooth, although it being a combustor, it's probably needs to be smooth. Otherwise, you get turbulence along you get vortices along any of these little ridges, because you can actually see banding because it's deposition. So it rolls around and puts layer after layer and bonds it together. So it's pretty neat. And there's actually a rocket that's in existence right now that was entirely 3D printed and has launched and come back, apparently.
Oh, wow. And the Ohio State University was involved here.
Was a volunteer?
Was involved.
Oh, involved here. Oh, okay. The entire university? The Ohio State?
Yes, if you scroll down.
All of them. The entire school. Wow. It is the Ohio State University.
I was very excited to see the was represented.
That's awesome. It's the best type of technically correct. Technically. All right, let's keep going. The next article is over on the Hatch Ideas channel. 500,000 school buses across the U.S. could become an EV battery powerhouse feeding the grid. Zoom and Oakland schools will send battery power from EV transport back to the grid, making the nightlife of school buses a little more interesting. Why? Why are they sending power back into the grid at night? I don't understand that. You have to charge these buses.
I don't know. We have to see what's going to happen. I mean, it sounds good, but why aren't they using it on the buses?
Not with that attitude. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm lashing out at the AI.
Maybe they're collecting it all day and sending it back at night?
What? Eric Rosenbaum over at CNBC.com put the article together. The key points here, it says Zoom, which provides EV school buses and other student transport solutions to many districts across the country, will begin to feed power stored in EV bus batteries back to the California grid in a deal with Oakland and Pacific Gas and Electric. Across the U.S., there is an estimated 500,000 school buses, which, if converted to EV like Oakland School District, could become a significant source of energy for utility power grids. Source? I don't understand. It's not a generator of power. The fact that the buses, the nation's largest mass transit system, are not used during peak evening energy demand hours makes the bus's case compelling, though the concept is still in very early days. But I don't get it. What are they trying to do? So the school
Vehicle
bus
to grid
system,
bidirectional charging.
but what? I don't get it.
I don't
74 in
either.
all will now be the first to test the concept of V2G, vehicle to grid bidirectional charging. In effect, instead of one-way charge into the vehicle, the buses will be able to send their battery power back to the grid through Zoom charging infrastructure. But you still have to charge the buses. So why would you attach them to the grid other than in an emergency or to charge them?
Yeah, I don't quite get this. I wish this had some more technical detail.
Yeah, I guess I'm going to have to look into this. According to Zoom, the 27 million students moved across the country to and from schools twice daily is the largest mass transit system in the country. Well, you're not selling me on the benefits of school buses. What is the freaking point? The roughly 500,000 school buses are mostly diesel, contributing to emissions. Okay, no shit news. We're 6 minutes into the show, and I'm like, okay. What am I actually watching here? Okay. The concept is considered a strong one given the fact that school buses are not in use during peak energy demand hours, for example, between 5 p.m. and 10 p.m. This allows the buses and their owners to execute an energy arbitrage trade, charging up for their core daily task of moving students when energy prices are lower and feeding battery storage back into the grid when utilities will pay more for it per kilowatt hour. So you're literally arbitrage pricing. This seems like a problem that shouldn't exist.
It does.
It's
I mean, it sounds kind of interesting, but then it's all about how it's actually executed.
It's what they're talking about is charging in off-peak at lower rates. And then they plug in and feed back into the system at higher rates, so they make money from the lower rate charge, the gap between what they paid initially and what they paid or what they sold at peak. So let's say they get all of their power for $1 at low level, low demand, and then peak rolls around and they sell it for $100. They make $99. But that isn't so much a mechanism of, oh, look, let's make them all go green. It's, we're greedy. And not the school. I'm talking about energy generation is all about supply and demand, except that it's built off of the fact that we can make more money if we constrain the amount of energy produced. So let's sell some of this power back. This isn't a problem that the school should have to deal with. They should get the absolutely lowest freaking rate allowed by the state.
Exactly.
Because they're providing a service to your freaking children. You're paying taxes for the public school system.
Well, yeah, they're run by the state, or the county, so it's already, it's not really clear why they're really paying for anything.
I'm just shocked that somebody would sit there and go, oh, okay. So let's sell it back into the system, basically creating a profit. What, only for the school? No, somebody's buying it, but there's intermediary steps that are getting compensated for their transactions. So there's all kinds of people that are making money. This just seems kind of skeevy. It seems like it's profiteering off of the fact that there's some batteries laying around. But if they would have been charged at the lowest possible rate, it's basically saying, let's charge consumers that are already paying for the school's power and the buses and the salaries of the people and everything the institution is providing, now pay a little more for the power that they're feeding back into the system. I don't know. Maybe I've got it all wrong, and my ideological bent is not in line with the more exploitative.
We just don't have a
elements.
lot of information. I mean, if this is a way to get power to where it's needed, I think that's good. But there's definitely a financial aspect to this.
Yeah, this just screams greed. Again, Eric Rosenbaum over at cnbc.com put this article together, but I'm going to keep moving. The next article is over in the Model channel. Stiffness and viscosity of cells found to differ in cancer and other diseases. During illness, the stiffness and or viscosity of cells can change. Tom Evers demonstrated this by measuring such properties of human immune cells for the first time, which I find absolutely fascinating. The stiffness of certain cells could be a way to make a diagnosis. And so they basically measured using a laser the amount of force needed to impact the cell. Seems like it. Cell Mechanics for Disease Biology and Pharmacology. A resulting article was published by Materials Advances. Evers received their PhD on March 26th for the thesis. Within a tumor, cells grow close together in tissue where they do not belong. Therefore, there is more pressure from packed cells. Cells react to this by reinforcing their structure, just as our bones become stronger when subjected to more stress. The stiffness of cells likely also plays a role in leaky blood vessels. Blood vessel cells become less rigid or even somewhat fluid. Viruses like Ebola are deadly due to a hemorrhagic fever where blood vessels begin to leak. Evers has succeeded in measuring the stiffness of cells. Wow. Evers,
I don't think I've ever seen a study about this.
No, I've never seen it either. Obviously, we're not all we're not medical professionals, but we noodle around with a lot of medical topics. It says here, as a student of biomedical sciences, Evers found biophysics so interesting that he was willing to go to Siberia for it. It was something like negative 40 degrees in Tomsk, but I also experienced plus 40. He had a great time there, 2016 to 17, when he completed his first half of his double master's degree. The other half was biomedical in nature, back in his hometown of Maastricht, in Leiden. I could combine both fields. Man, I love it when somebody is like really into that, whatever it is that they're passionate about, like they're just deep into that deep end of the pool, you know, and that's what their passion is. We study the mechanical properties of cells, their stiffness, viscosity. These are extremely important in, among other things, the immune response to disease. For example, a macrophage that engulfs a pathogen must be able to deform around it smoothly. These mechanical properties also play a role in cancer. In a tumor, some cells become softer or less rigid. These cells can more easily migrate through the body, which happens in metastatic cancer. In leukemia, where monocytic immune cells are affected, their mechanical properties change, and if we measure them or that accurately, the stiffness of such cells could be a way to diagnose the disease. Stiffness then becomes a so-called biomarker, and there's many biomarkers that cancers are detected by, but you have to kind of hone in on what it is. So
this is really interesting.
They worked with optical tweezers, among other tools. This device, scientists can, for example, hold a strand of DNA, pull on it, and then measure how tightly it's wound. How the hell? They modified the tweezer so that you can sandwich a cell between the two glass beads. By pushing the beads together with a certain force and observing the stretch the cell undergoes, we determine the stiffness of the cell. I wonder if it's that much of a signature, you know? Like, does any other cell exhibit that type of property? Or do all cells that are of that nature only exhibit that amount of pressure? Pretty fascinating. He extracted macrophages from healthy mouse mouse breast tissue and tumor-associated macrophages from mice with breast cancer, and the macrophages detecting or protecting the tumor had higher rigidity. Interesting.
That's very
Macrophages
cool.
protecting the tumor. I'm gonna have to look into that. That's an interesting one. So proteomics. If it's about proteins, they call it proteomics. Research into metabolism is metabolomics. Ever's results show that there are even more relevant aspects. Mechanomics adds the dimension of mechanical properties such as stiffness and viscosity.
Very cool.
Very cool.
I just think the idea with the optical tweezers is pretty crazy sounding.
Yeah, so we'll check it out. Well, I'll see if I can pull up an example, a demonstration of optical tweezers. Don't have those in my lab, but
You don't have some of those just laying around.
I'm actually looking for an MRI, but that's okay. Let's just say they're not something that you need a
little bit of infrastructure for one thing.
And don't tell me no. So Technology Today is where the next article is. New advance in wireless communications could help precisely pinpoint the locations of people and objects. Engineers from University of Glasgow and colleagues from the UK and Australia are behind a research breakthrough. You know, you ever start the show and talk for 30 minutes and then realize that maybe your mic was muted?
No, but I hope that was not the case.
It is not. Okay. Anyway, they have a breakthrough in developing form of wireless communications that could help precisely pinpoint the locations of people and objects indoors, which is creepy. University of Glasgow.
Yeah, I mean, it might be good for like emergency services, but it has too many other applications.
Kind of issues, right? Privacy. University of Glasgow is where this is sourced from, but the actual source for us is techexplore.com. They don't have a byline other than University of Glasgow. So these engineers from University of Glasgow and others say that their work could have a wide range of future applications, from helping emergency services quickly find people trapped in smoke-filled buildings to offering device-assisted navigation through public spaces for blind and partially sighted people. But we all know that it's going to get abused. In a new paper, I'm so cynical about this stuff, but I love talking about technology and illuminating people who may not know about this. I certainly didn't know about this until I created ohmTown, and so that's why I use ohmTown. So in the new paper, not newspaper, published in the journal Communications Engineering, the research team describe how they collaborated to improve the performance of an emerging wireless communication technology called Reconfigurable Intelligent Surfaces, or RIS. RIS takes the form of flat surfaces, which use programmable elements capable of manipulating electromagnetic waves, like the high-frequency signals of wireless communications, for a range of applications. Oh, see, so you would have to have sheets of RIS placed on walls and ceilings indoors that can intercept wireless signals from outside and intelligently redirect, and focus them as required to improve performance.
So they basically have to start building this into building design, right?
Yeah. Or you bring stuff in and plop it down during some issue, and then it will point the signals into the space that you're trying to identify what the contents are. But I've actually seen this kind of stuff. There are reflectors that are put in the desert for a long distance communication so that the signal bounces around obstructions instead of having to go high up. It's more expensive to build a tower up than it is to just stay at the surface. So RIS has the potential to greatly improve active location finding indoors. It can do that by being aware of the communication signals being sent and received from devices like mobile phones at any given time, which allows them to precisely locate the device and its user. You can get pretty damn close with a cell phone right now, but you won't be able to pinpoint it within a structure with great reliability. Like, for instance, take the numbnuts that were using a tracking device to try and locate their pet recently, and
Oh, yes.
scoping out for a series of days the mayoral mansion. And not until authorities show up do they go, oh shit, I guess if I can track something, so can, I don't know, the mayor of a small community. So yeah. And they proceeded to basically track around every facility around the mayoral mansion, trying to locate their cat, apparently. Yeah, they stopped after a few people said something to them directly, and the police let them know that they're being monitored. So yeah, it's not quite right. It's not quite precise. It's not quite predictable about where the
True,
signal
but
is coming from.
it gets in the vicinity though.
Yeah, like a grenade.
Well, okay, yeah.
So what they're going to end up doing is to explore and improve the technology's location finding potential. They set up a 1.3 meter square RIS containing 4,096 elements in a space at the University of Glasgow, and they paired it with two devices called universal serial radio peripherals. One acted as a receiver of wireless signals and the other as a transmitter. And they were able to fingerprint basically this environment inside. One algorithm clearly outperformed the others, proving itself capable of accurately determining the location of the receiver 82.4% of the time. I don't know what the resolution of that was, but it's exactly how I described it. Basically, if they were to go to a location and set up enough RIS elements around the perimeter of where they're trying to find something, they would be able to pinpoint the location because the signal is bouncing off of enough points, and it's the signal's time to reach the target identifies how far away, because the signal is predicted based off the angle of attack. So pretty cool. I mean, I like the idea of it, but you know it's going to be tactical. Let's keep going though. The next article is over in the Mobile Channel. NASA researchers bid farewell to flying laboratory at Ames Research Center. For many NASA scientists, flying aboard a decked-out Douglas DC-8 plane provided them with unique glimpses of Earth. The Moai on Easter Island, Central Park in New York, Mount Vesuvius in Italy. That's the plane that we were talking about.
Oh, okay.
So on May 15th, some of the same scientists who worked on the flying laboratory looked on as it made one last flight over Ames Research Center in Mountain View before its retirement. They attended the flyover with their two children before taking them to school, as the twins played around the trees and commented on the big plane that flew close to the ground for them to see. She recalled how she got started at NASA doing science and reading field measurements on the plane. So the plane owned by NASA was one of 7 DC-8 planes still in operation internationally. Thomas Matthews, lead operations engineer for the aircraft and main mission director, said that NASA used the plane for 37 years. Well, now a new Boeing 777 will replace the DC-8, door by door probably, which will retire at the aircraft maintenance school in Idaho State University in Pocatello. There's not really much more to say about this. I mean, they talk about certain things, flying over Antarctica in Operation Icebridge, while NASA was switching satellites. Zavaleta recalled seeing mountain ranges and glaciers as far as the eye could see. Well, that would be Antarctica. And so on. All kinds of really interesting statements, memories of the people who were in this particular plane. Apparently, the DC-8 was actually another part of the picture, so that you could see, yes, it was really happening the way that we think it is chemically, says Schofield.
I hope they're going to record like the scientific observations or something, right? It reminds me of that. I think it was an art exhibit, right, where they had the person and then you could engage. Like it seems like they need to do something like that with this. I mean, it's pretty unique.
Like this kind of observation, or the research that they did. I mean, of course they did the research recording on the plane.
But I mean, like something to kind of preserve it for people to hear about or whatever.
Yeah, maybe it'll end up being like a museum piece, right? Where they say all of these people use this plane over 37 years, and the historical context isn't just bound by. Well, I mean, it's going to be. Yeah, where would you know?
It's like a point in time. Like I feel like it's going to be like, yes, the data is the data,
right?
But there's other things like if they went over Antarctica, right? Like in whatever 1987 or something, that's going to be different than if they go over it today.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure. Like, I think that they probably recorded all of that kind of stuff, but it's not going to be like a footnote. It's not going to be notated in their research that they were in this DC-8 plane.
No.
And, but I bet you that a lot of just people will sit there and just go, well, it's just a tool, move on. But I find it really fascinating. Like I wish that I would have kept some of the tools that I've used over the years, but because I'm not really a nostalgic kind of person, I don't have the old computers that I've used. I've either donated them or recycled them. Or I still have them. Hell, I mean, I think I have one computer that's actually like 15 years old, but it's still functional. So
right.
Why get rid of it? But it's basically the DC-8 for me, not as many projects have been run on it, but I think it's pretty cool that they're going to actually keep it. It's not going to get scrapped because it's part of Ames Research Center. It's going to be moved somewhere else, but yeah, there's a lot more over at this article, by the way, so go and check it out. There is a person that wrote this article, and I'm sorry that I skipped over them. I was just really excited about talking about it. Phys.org is the source of this article, but Nolly-Ann Delacruz from the Mercury News is the author of this, but they don't have a link to their site. It's only at phys.org. But let's keep on going. This is Technology Today and not Today and Tomorrow.
It might be if we keep going.
The next article, though, is over in Technology Today. MIT engineers create game-changing lead detection device. I keep fighting the urge to say lead detection device because I just want a device that goes, they're in the lead. They're in the lead. They're in the lead. It's like a dog that's called a spotter, and there it is. Or an Irish sitter that's like, I'm sitting. Anyway, MIT engineers create game-changing lead detection device. A new chip-scale device could provide sensitive detection of lead levels in drinking water, whose toxicity affects 240 million people worldwide. By the way, a certain administration this year, I think, put into action across-the-board mandate to replace all of the lead pipes that are in the United States. If I recall correctly, I might have to do a quick search to verify that one, but I think I recall.
That's going to be quite an undertaking.
Yeah, several billion dollars. Yeah. Yep. Hold on, let me make sure.
Yeah, there's 9 billion total, but I think 3 billion for that specifically.
There you go. Yep. Through the EPA's Lead Service Line Replacement Drinking Water State Revolving Fund. Yeah, $9 billion in total funding announced. 1.7 million lead pipes nationwide to secure clean drinking water for countless families. Because I don't know, when you change your water, it shouldn't basically start deteriorating lead pipes that you knew about, you dummies. Just to save money. Anyway, and not really in the anyway, it's a coping mechanism for me to have to move on. The next article is over in Technology Today. MIT engineers create game-changing lead detection device. So the article is over at scitechdaily.com. David L. Chandler, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, put this article together. And this made me think, what else could there be sensors for that are basically like a bulk test? You grab some water, you throw it in there, and it counts it. You can do the stuff with glucose. You can do this stuff with, well, actually, there's several. My brain is just blanking right now on all of them. But you can actually get little gadgets, and I have one right over there that basically looks at blood and counts certain things and lets you know the level. And I find it really fascinating that this is the first time that a lead test is at chip level. What normally has to happen is you have to put it in a sample vial and there's a chemical reaction to test. But this could actually tell you exactly what the level is, at least based on what I understand.
In pretty real time, right?
Yeah, it says testing setup of the photonic chip sensor, including microfluidic chamber to transport analyte solutions and optical fibers on the sides to measure the photonic response of the chip. So the new system, which could be ready for commercial deployment within 2 or 3 years, could detect lead concentration as low as 1 part per billion with high accuracy using a simple chip-based detector housed in a handheld device, similar to the ones that are like measuring A1C and whatever else.
Okay.
And so the technology gives nearly instant quantitative measurements and requires just a droplet of water.
This is really good.
So you remember that blood test company Theranos?
Oh, yes.
This is the kind of shit that they were working on, which if there wasn't fraud, outright fraud, and they weren't doing fundamental research and they, if all things were considered on the up and up, were they doing something like this?
We don't know. I mean, that's the problem. Like, they might have actually had something.
Yeah. So why can't I take a single drop of blood and the sensor that, I have 3 different sensors that test 3 different things from blood. Why can't I use that same pipette, that same sample blood drop, and have it tested, and then turn the dial so it does the next test, and then turn the dial and it does the next test, displaying all of it on individual results, but in the same device, instead of having to spend $500 to get 3 different devices to check this one blood sample. It doesn't make any sense that Theranos couldn't have gotten there given time. But then again, maybe there was a lot of bullshit being blown around. But if this chip can do it, they say within 3 years.
I mean, that's not that far off.
Right? And there's that little chip.
But if we're going to deploy that, we have to be prepared to then do the things that are necessary to then fix the problem.
Oh, well, you're talking about the lead result.
Right.
Yeah, well, we know. I mean, we know that there is a huge problem. But being able to get down to 1 part per billion basically means that the water supply is going to have to go through some serious growing pains. The device works in water with varying levels of acidity, ranging from pH values of 6 to 8, which covers most environmental samples. They have tested the device with seawater as well as tap water and verified the accuracy of the measurements. They seem way closer than 3 years.
Yeah, they do, don't they? Maybe they're doing that. So, I mean, I don't know if this has to
Set
go through
expectations.
like FDA type.
Right.
I don't know, or whatever. I may not be FDA, but just as an
Yeah, I don't
example. But
know because it isn't necessarily a health device. It's
correct. I like
yeah,
maybe EPA
but
or
some
something, but
other yeah,
there might be other things they have to jump through. And plus, even if they're really close, they're not going to be like, we're going to put it out there in a week because
yeah,
it might not be like there might be too many steps ahead. They're trying to build in some time or
yeah.
something.
Like I'm looking for a license right now, and it says that it's going to take 6 months, but then you talk to people and they're like, no, 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 it's going to be about 2 years.
Right.
All right, so I'll say 3 years, and then my project will be ready to launch. Interesting. So I think that this is kind of the future until we get remote sensing, which isn't necessarily a viable solution for everything. But I can't really describe this any other way. The next step is touchless sensors. You know, you don't have to go and get water. You don't have to go and get blood or some other physical sample, just remote sensing. Okay, let's keep going though. Really neat. So stick around and watch that. We'll end up in Technology Today in particular talking about these higher scale things. The next article is over in ohmTown Daily. Jelly sea creature jet propulsion could give robots a boost. It's an unusual kind of locomotion that could inspire new designs for efficient underwater vehicles. Salps are small creatures that look like jellyfish that take a nightly journey from the depths of the ocean to the surface. Observing that migration with special cameras helped researchers capture the microplankton's graceful, coordinated swimming behavior. Salps are really weird animals. I like that, the scientific declaration there.
Right. Very scientific terminology.
Yeah. Well, like I think it was like Einstein that said spooky at a distance about quantum mechanics.
Well, there you go.
So I guess it's all these are genius words now, right there. Yeah. So the largest migration of the planet happens every single night. The vertical migration of planktonic organisms from the deep sea to the surface. I've never witnessed anything like this. Oh, I'm so sorry about doing that. The article is over in futurity.org. Molly Blanchett from University of Oregon put the article together. Let's see. They don't have a picture of it. This is a Getty image, but I don't know if they have a video. Let's see. I'm gonna scroll real quick. Nope, they don't have a video of it, which is a real bummer. So it says,
Oh, I know. I want to see one.
yeah, maybe we can in another show. Damian Serrano says salps are really weird animals. While their common ancestor with us probably looked like a little boneless fish, their lineage lost a lot of those features and magnified others. The solitary individuals behaved like this mothership that asexually breeds a chain of individual clones can join together to produce a colony. But the most unique thing about these ocean creatures was found during the researchers' ocean expeditions, their swimming techniques. I love scuba diving so much that I think I would love to, like in another life, I would have probably done something like this again. But I didn't discover a scuba until later. Um, They conducted daytime scuba dives, immersed in infinite blue, as Damian Serrano described, for high visibility investigations. They also performed nighttime dives, when the black backdrop allowed for high contrast imaging of the transparent critters. Oh, by the way, one of the spookiest things that's ever happened to me is while I was diving, I was going to do a night dive. And I'm just sitting there getting ready with my dive buddy. And a person came out of the ocean with a rebreather. Just no light came off of them until they stepped into our firelight. And it was the
Wow.
creepiest thing because the moon was gone and it was just pitch black except for our firelight. And it looked like a military op was underway, and the only thing that gave it away as it not being a military op was that they were holding lobsters.
Oh, okay. But yeah,
So,
I'm like, I don't know what I'm witnessing here. I'm not sure I want to know.
it was exciting in the, well, I'm glad I'm wearing a wetsuit sort of way. Through imaging and recording, the researchers noticed two modes of swimming where shorter colonies spun around an axis like a spiraling football. Longer chains would buckle and coil like a corkscrew. That's called helical swimming. It might be because of their little flagella, I think they might call it. I don't know. Microbes beat water with hair-like projections or tail whips, but salps swim via jet propulsion. Oh, I guess that's in the title. They have contracting muscle bands like those in a human throat that pump water sucked from one side of the body and squirted out the other end to create thrust. So, yeah.
There's another animal that does that, I think, in the water, but I can't think of what it is.
What's the
But
one
maybe
that...
I'm thinking of the cicada bee.
It's the cicada pea that I think is, yeah, that's exactly where I was going to. Yeah, the cicada jet pea. Yeah. So their initial reaction was really one of wonder and awe, kind of like ours about the cicada jet pea. Sutherland says, I would describe their motion as snake-like and graceful, not cicada pea. They have multiple units pulsing at different times, creating a whole chain that moves very smoothly. It's a really beautiful way of moving. Weird. So they're all chained together, but they're pulsing in unison so that they can move together. Micro robots inspired.
That must look really creepy if you don't know what that is and then you just encounter it.
Yeah, Salp centipede. Micro robots inspired by microbial swimmers already exist, Sutherland says, but this discovery paves the way for engineers to construct larger underwater vehicles. It may be possible to create robots that are silent and less turbulent when modeled after these efficient swimmers. There already is something that's silent. It's called a worm drive. That pulls water in on one side and pushes it out on the other, and it's kind of like an underwater jet. Yeah, I don't know. They don't talk about it in here, but it might actually just be experimental and never really... I thought that there's a military sub that does that. It's not a secret, so it might be lost to time.
This says the Office of Naval Research supported the work.
Oh, wow, I might have said too much. Hold on a second. I want to see. Yeah, it's a magnetohydrodynamic drive, MHD, the Virginia-class submarine from the U.S. Navy.
Oh, okay.
It's in Naval News from, oh my gosh, from April 2024.
Oh.
But it's on April 1st, so I don't know if I'm being punked.
Right.
No, there's a Wikipedia entry called magnetohydrodynamic drive. Yeah, a method of propelling vehicles using only electric and magnetic fields with no moving parts. So it actually just sounds like a hum or nearly silent because it doesn't project far enough, even with, what do they call them? Hydrophones. And that's what's used to track submarines most of the time. Anyway, pretty cool. But again, there's science already for this. But finding its method of propulsion so that it actually can be amplified and turned into something tactical and silent, it's kind of why they're doing that research. So the next article is over in Technology Today. MIT unveils game-changing sensor for toxic gas detection. So another, today is kind of sensor heavy. A breakthrough in gas detection technology at MIT combines high sensitivity and continuous monitoring. The material could be made as thin coatings. So the article is by David L. Chandler, Massachusetts Institute of Technology. I swear we've already seen that name. One second. David L. Chandler. But it isn't the same article, by the way.
Okay, wait a second. That's really weird.
Yeah. So a breakthrough in gas detection technology at MIT combines high sensitivity and continuous monitoring. The material can be made as a thin coating to analyze air quality in industrial or home settings. The new system combines two existing technologies, bringing them together in a way that preserves the advantages of each while avoiding their limitations. The team used a material called Metal Organic Framework, or MOF, which is highly sensitive to tiny traces of gas, but also whose performance quickly degrades, and combined it with a polymer material that is highly durable and easier to process, but much less sensitive. The results are reported today in the journal Advanced Materials in a paper by MIT professors Aristide Gumyasenge, I guess, and Mercy Dinka, and Heather Kulik, and Jesus Del Alamo, graduate student Hee-Jung Uro, and postdocs Dong-Ha Kim, Young-Soo Cho, and Young-Moo Jo. All right. So it says that it could provide continuous monitoring for the presence of toxic gases at low cost, and the team used this MOF framework, which is highly sensitive to tiny traces of gas, but whose performance quickly degrades. And then they combined it with the polymer. So basically what I just got done talking about. The drawback for these materials used as a detector for gases is that they readily become saturated and no longer can detect and quantify new inputs. That's not what you want. You want to be able to detect and reuse. So we decided to use a polymer composite to achieve this reversibility. The team used a class of conductive polymers that Gumyasenge and his co-workers had previously shown can respond to gases without permanently binding to them. Like a catalyst.
So then they can keep redoing this.
Yeah, it's like a catalyst, so they can just clear it. I wonder how they clear it. The team so by combining the polymer with its quick detection capabilities and more sensitive MOFs in a 1-to-1 ratio, he said, suddenly we get a sensor that's both high sensitivity we get from the MOF and reversibility that's enabled by the presence of the polymer. The material changes its electrical resistance. Oh, yeah, so to clear it, you just charge it again.
Well, right? That's cool.
Let's see if that's true. Tracked the resistance over time, demonstrated the composite's material ability to detect nitrogen dioxide, a toxic gas produced by many kinds of combustion. After 100 cycles of detection, the material was still maintaining its baseline performance within a margin of about 5 to 10%, demonstrating its long-term potential. They don't say how they reset this thing. No.
I guess that'll be the next experiment.
Yeah, but they said that they can do that. I'm curious how they do it. See, like in some things, like certain filters that use electrostatic discharge, it can grab particles out of the air. And then to clear it, you basically activate it, electrify it, and all of the material falls off.
Oh, then they leave. Okay.
Yeah. And so I thought that that's maybe what this is doing, but I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Because the films are so thin.
I love all these articles, but we don't always get as much detail as we want.
Yeah, for sure. Interesting. Okay, well, we'll keep an eye on this because I'm really interested in like a chemical detection and changes in the environment. The last article for today's Technology Today is over in Technology Today. I'm going to see if I can say it a bunch of times. And I'm going to run through this one really quick. Scientists develop a soft robot that mimics a spider's leg. Researchers Indrek Must and Kadri Ann Valdoor of the Institute of Technology of the University of Tartu have created
I'm sorry, but that sounds like a name out of like Star Trek.
Yeah. Or MCU. Have created a robot leg modeled after the leg of a cucumber spider, which now I don't want any cucumbers. The soft robot created in cooperation with the Italian Institute of Technology could, in the future, move where humans cannot. Oh.
Okay, but do they have to be built in groups of 8?
It looks like that's exactly what's going to happen there. So the article is over at techexplore.com, and the sentient AI from the future is kind of... oh, look, they're
like
deleting
folding
their
onto itself.
they're deleting their optical sensors. Oh, interesting. How I've never seen this behavior before. So the Estonian Research Council put this article together, and it's published at techexplore.com. In organisms, fluid is what binds the organs, the blood vessels, and the musculoskeletal system as a whole. For example, hemolymph, a blood-like fluid in the spider's body, enables muscle activation and exoskeleton flexibility. Yes, they're all hydraulic. What the heck? So it was the cucumber spider inhabiting Estonia that inspired scientists to create a complex, soft robot where soft and rigid parts are made to work together and are connected by a liquid. According to Indrik Musk, broadly speaking, our goal is to build systems from both natural and artificial materials that are as effective as in wildlife. The robotic leg could touch delicate objects and move in the same complex environments as a living spider. So
Okay, now did they observe them voluntarily in Astoria?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, so they're changing the pressure, the hydraulic pressure of this spider leg, the synthetic spider leg, and it's raising and lowering. Oh, look, I'm no, I'm not really grossed out by this. I'm just messing around.
I think some people will be, though.
Yeah, you'll have to watch this video because it's kind of gross, but it's neat. I dig this because to think you could have just a reservoir, and by pumping the hydraulic fluid in certain ways, it will mimic these spider legs. And if you can do the same apparatus, these tiny hairs and stuff like that, it could crawl up a wall or whatever else.
We're not ready for that.
Yep. A sentient, an AGI powered synthetic spider that can go and get, I don't know.
Think of the backward bending and backward walking robot. That was kind of a lot.
Oh, yeah, and then amplified to this.
Mm-mm.
Make it all biological. Oh, okay, there's your NaNoWriMo fuel. And with that in mind, you know what? We're just going to call it. We're going to hop on to this biomimetic spider and crawl slowly and upside down on the walls lining ohmTown's Main Street. Back to Technology Today and refresh the page just so that we can, I don't know, what do they call it? Eye bleach, where you watch something funny and happy, like kittens meowing.
I don't know what that is.
Anyway,
but I know what you're describing.
Meta under fire from European Union for not doing enough about election disinformation. Why is that in Technology Today? Oh, because it's tech. All right. Well, anyway, that's it for Technology Today. I am Mayor Watt, and all around is the sentient AI from the future.
Good night, ohmTown citizens. Thanks for joining us for Technology Today.
Hey, is this thing on?